So good morning, good afternoon. My name is Emily Cabbage. I am the Senior Director of Membership at NAIFA, and it is my pleasure to welcome you here today for our Future Leaders session, where we are kicking things off. We're doing things a little bit differently. This time we are going to do a power session. So we are going to be plunging through what we normally do in 4 weeks in 2 hours. So we've got a great lineup of speakers. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our first speaker, Delvin Joyce.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Emily. I'm going to share my screen, so hopefully everyone can see my screen and get my presentation going. So Emily, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thank you guys for being here today. I am again, my name is Delvin Joyce. I'm a certified financial planner based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And really my goal today is to help you guys understand the industry and what a wonderful privilege it is that we have an organization like NAIFA that is willing to put this type of programming on for you guys. I've been a NAIFA member forever since I've been in the industry, and they have been instrumental in my development. And so for you guys being on this call today, I can tell you that you're going to get a wealth of knowledge that will help you really understand whether or not this is an industry that you'd like to be in. And if you've already made that decision, you'll probably get some knowledge that will empower you to be a very, very good practitioner. So my goal as I set the stage today, I want to help you guys sort of understand the landscape of the industry. And to do that, we're going to go through, sort of my career journey, just give you an idea of what that looked like. We'll talk through what your career options actually look like as you decide which avenue to go down in the industry. We'll talk about some of the challenges that, financial advisors and financial planners and insurance agents, some of those challenges that they experience throughout the years. We'll talk about why I chose financial planning specifically as the discipline for my practice and how financial planning has addressed those challenges. We'll talk through what our financial planning process actually looks like, just to give you an idea of sort of how financial planning helps clients. And then lastly, if we have time, Emily, I would love to open it up for questions at the end. So just to give you an idea about, my career journey. So I'll go way back, even before what's on this slide. I actually started my professional career as a professional football player. I played pro football for the New York Football Giants. You can see my old jersey in the back. And I did that for 4 years, retired, and said, all right, what am I going to do now? And I found this wonderful industry of financial planning, financial services, and I joined Prudential Advisors in Charlotte, North Carolina, back in 2006. Now, again, because I was a good practitioner, I did very well. I actually got promoted in 2007 to be a manager. So I created a team of financial advisors, managed, trained, and developed those advisors. Did that very well. Got promoted again to a position called Associate Managing Director in 2010, where I was being trained and developed personally to run a firm, to be a actual managing director for an entire firm. In 2012, I was promoted to run that firm. The firm that they moved me to was the South Florida Financial Group. So I managed all the financial advisors for Prudential in South Florida from Vero Beach to Key West. And then in 2017, I decided to leave that leadership role and actually go back into practice as a financial planner, working with my own individual clients. And so my family and I, we left South Florida, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and restarted to practice. Now, I only show you this slide to show you that, your career journey does not necessarily have to be static. There are so many different avenues, whether it's leadership or on the practitioner side, that you can go down. And so the key for you is getting with a good organization that's going to help you in your career journey and in your career development. All right. Now, as we think about the industry, though, and let's think about it on the actual practitioner side of things, I believe there are basically three choices that you have to make. And all three of these choices do not necessarily have to be independent of one another. You'll see what I mean by that in a second. But the first option is to become an insurance agent, right? The second option is you can be a financial advisor. And the third option, of course, is that you can be a financial planner. And these three terms are not mutually exclusive. But if we were to look at what it means to be an insurance agent, so if you are someone who said, I want to specialize in insurance planning for my clients and I want to sell insurance, where there are three basic avenues that you can go down to be an insurance agent. The first is that you could be what's called a property and casualty insurance agent, right? And a property and casualty insurance agent essentially sells auto and home insurance. I want you to think about, our guy Jake from State Farm. Maybe think about Mayhem, our Lady Flo at Progressive, right? Think about someone who can sell and market those types of insurance products to your clients. The great news about being a property and casualty agent is that that insurance is actually required by law. And so imagine having a product that your clients or your prospective clients are required by law to buy. Everyone who owns a car has to have auto insurance. Everyone that owns a home and has a mortgage has to have homeowners insurance. So again, being a property and casualty agent is a very, very lucrative industry. There's also life insurance, and you can be a life insurance agent. And of course, we understand that, I have a good friend who says the reason he sells life insurance is because people die every day. And so being a life insurance agent gives you an opportunity to market and sell life insurance so that people can help to protect their families and their loved ones. It's a very, very important part of the industry. And then, of course, there's health insurance agent. And as a health insurance agent, you can market and sell health insurance. You can market and sell long-term care insurance, and you can market and sell disability insurance. All three facets that are very, very important. Now, that's if you wanted to be exclusively an insurance agent. There's also where you can bring more of the financial advisory things into your practice, and become a more holistic financial advisor. And as a financial advisor, you could be someone who also markets insurance, but also sells and markets securities products, right? And if you market and sell securities products, then you also have to have either a broker dealer arrangement or you have to be a registered investment advisor representative or a combination of both. And again, it gets a little complicated. And this is why we're doing this call, because I'll explain what that means in a second. But first off, that broker dealer relationship, broker dealers are regulated by FINRA. FINRA stands for the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. FINRA is the governing body for broker dealers. So if you are someone who wants to market and sell mutual funds, stocks, bonds, ETFs, then you have to have a broker dealer relationship. Now, under that broker dealer relationship, again, you can sell and market securities products. And if you want to charge a fee to manage someone's investment accounts, then you also need to be a registered investment advisor representative. Now, registered investment advisors are managed by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. And you can be a financial advisor who either has a broker-dealer relationship but is not registered with the SEC. You could be a financial advisor that is registered with the SEC but does not have a broker-dealer relationship. Or you can be a financial advisor that has both a broker-dealer relationship and a registered investment advisor relationship, so that you can both earn commissions through the sale of investment products through your broker-dealer, but you can also charge a fee, an investment advisory fee for managing investments, and that would be managed under the registered investment advisor arrangement. All right, so a little confusing, but suffice it to say that you can do both. And then, of course, there is the financial planner relationship. And again, I said before that none of these things are mutually exclusive, because you can be an insurance agent who also markets and sells securities products and charges investment advisory fees to their clients, and so be a financial advisor. And then you can also be a financial planner. And when I think about financial planning, of course, financial planning is you helping your clients create a written, comprehensive holistic plan for how to accomplish their hopes, dreams, and aspirations. And that financial planning relationship, you would charge a fee to help someone create that financial plan. Now, there are two types of financial planners. The first type of financial planner is someone that would hold themselves out as a fee only financial planner. This fee only financial planner typically would not have an insurance license. They also would not have a broker dealer relationship, which means that that fee only financial planner cannot earn commissions. The only way that they are compensated are through financial planning fees. Now, there are some financial planners who also manage investment accounts, right? So not only do they create the financial plans for clients, they also manage investment accounts. But if they hold themselves out as fee only, then they cannot charge a commission to manage those investment accounts. They can only charge an investment advisory fee. All right. Now, then there are the fee based financial planners. A fee based financial planner can still charge a fee to help someone create a financial plan for how to accomplish all their goals and aspirations, but they can also help the client implement their recommendations by also selling the products associated with the financial plan. So when you think about the implementation of it, of course, then you would have to have an insurance license. If you make a recommendation for life insurance in the financial plan and the client wants you as the practitioner to sell them the life insurance policy, well, you need a license for that and you can earn another commission. You also can earn commissions on selling and marketing securities if you are a fee based financial planner. All right. So I know it gets a little confusing, but again, fee only means that you can only charge fees to create a financial plan and or manage investments. Fee based means that you can earn commissions as well as charging a fee for financial planning. So we would call that fee based financial planner a hybrid. So in my practice, I am a hybrid. We charge fees for financial planning advice. And if a client chooses to implement their financial plan with us, then we can also be compensated in other ways. Now, the real question is, where do you go to work, right? Like, who's going to hire you to do this job as a financial advisor, insurance agent, or financial planner? Well, there's several places where you could go to work. The first would be an insurance agency. So if you wanted to go work at an insurance agency, specifically selling and marketing insurance products, then you can absolutely go to an insurance agency, get your insurance license, and begin marketing and selling insurance. There are also what are called insurance-based broker dealers. So this would be an insurance agency that also will allow you to establish a broker dealer relationship, which means that you can not only market your insurance products, you can market those insurance products as well as securities products. So you'd get a Series 7 license or a Series 6 license in order to market and sell securities at this broker dealer. Now, there's also what are called independent broker dealers. An independent broker dealer is not really affiliated with any specific insurance company, but they have a broker dealer that you can get hired at and you can market and sell various companies' insurance products and or investment products. There are also what are called wirehouses. A wirehouse, and I'll give you an example like a Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley. These are companies that are more specifically geared towards people who want to manage investment assets. So typically in a wirehouse environment, there's less on the insurance side. This is where you'd see more of the quote unquote financial advisors who probably don't market and sell insurance products. They're more so concerned with marketing and selling securities, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, managed investment advisory accounts, so on and so forth. And then maybe the sort of the last avenue would be a bank relationship. And banks are, again, a great place for a lot of young people to start their career because typically there's going to be some sort of, base salary, some compensation that goes along with working at a bank. And it also gives you an opportunity to learn. and train while you're trying to build your skill set to be a financial advisor or financial planner. Now, the flip side of that bank relationship is that typically, the compensation isn't great. And so I always say for high performers, you probably want to go into, one of the other options because it's a lot more entrepreneurial. The other four options, either at an insurance agency or insurance-based broker dealer or independent broker dealer or wirehouse, you're going to be a business owner. And as a business owner, you've got to go out and build a practice for yourself, which means there's a lot more risk involved, which means you're going to make a lot more money. In the banking relationship, the banks own the clients, so they're not really going to pay you quite as well to manage and work with their specific clients because they own them. I'm going to wrap for a second and just talk about the challenges that I see a lot of financial advisors face. And when we think about these challenges, these are all challenges that I believe that financial planning will solve for. And that's one of the reasons that I chose to go into financial planning. One of the things that I see from a practitioner standpoint is that most advisors cannot clearly articulate their value proposition. And so it's a big challenge in our industry. The other challenge is that there's no system for most people to consistently fill the top of their funnel with new prospects. I said before that you are an entrepreneur. Most of the time, you will have to go out and work and build your own client base, your own book of business. That's very hard, but that's why you get paid so well to do it. The other challenge is that there's, a lot of advisors don't actually have a service model because most people are just trying to figure it out and get clients. And once they get a client, they're on to the next client. And they don't really truly figure out how to run a business and run a practice and create a service model. And then lastly, a lot of advisors and insurance agents in our industry, they struggle because they have not built a practice that creates residual income. Now, these are all challenges that I believe financial planning solve. And this is one of the reasons that as I left the management role in 2017 and went back into practice, that I've built my practice largely by creating a financial planning practice. Because I believe that financial planning solves that first challenge that we talked about in helping advisors create that value proposition. Because the value proposition of financial planning is that we're not going to just sit down with you and try to sell you something. It is more about helping you with more than just buying a product. It's about helping you to create a comprehensive plan for some of those things that I may not even have a product for. Many of our clients that come to us, they are concerned about how to pay off their student loans or how to buy a house. And if you're just a financial advisor with an insurance license and a securities license, well, you don't really have a product to help people buy a house or figure out student loans, nor do you get compensated for it. But if you create a practice around financial planning, then I can sit down with clients and say, listen, I can help you with more than just sitting down and helping you buy something, right? That's where I draw the distinction. This is where I create the value proposition for our prospective clients is that, a financial advisor relationship is a product-oriented relationship. A financial planner relationship is someone that's going to help you take all those products and make sure that they are working in concert with your goals. It is a totally different framing and a totally different value proposition. I think the second value proposition is prospecting, right? Because the other challenge that we talked about is that most advisors do not have an opportunity to fill the top of the funnel with new prospective clients. But financial planning will help you to find more clients who are actually attracted to the idea of not having to be sold something, right? Many people would rather just pay you a fee for your objective, unbiased advice. And so for us, from a prospecting standpoint, many of our clients identify as first generation wealth. These are people that are not going to inherit money. They're not going to, inherit money in the future, but they are also Henrys. Henry is an acronym for high earners, not rich yet. Now, all the other financial advisors in the industry, you will hear people say, well, I only work with high net worth people. That is not our practice. We want to help these Henrys, these people who make a very high income, but they're just not rich yet. But they want to become rich. They want to build generational wealth for their families. Those are the people that we want to help in our practice. We believe that that's blue ocean for us because the red ocean is where everybody else is swimming. That's where all the sharks are eating each other. The red ocean is going after the high net worth people. We like working with the people that have aspirations to build wealth. And because we have built our practice around that idea, it has made us very, very referable to our clients. So prospecting, I'm very proud to say this, that, we don't even take on clients cold. You can't call our office and become a client. We only take on clients as referrals from our existing clients. And I never thought I'd be an advisor that could say that. But now, because we built this practice around financial planning, people are attracted to that value proposition. We get referrals nonstop. The other thing is client service model. The financial planning process builds the service model for you. And because we have a service model around this financial planning idea, we help our clients accomplish more because we're not just dropping off a financial plan and saying good luck. We are holding their hand through every step of that planning process. We have clients who renew their engagement with us year after year, which also creates another avenue for us to earn revenue. And this solves the fourth challenge. Again, I said most advisors, the reason they struggle in the industry is because they don't have a system to create residual income. Well, financial planning is a residual income source. There are several ways in our industry where you could earn a residual income. Now, I want to break this down for you. If you're an insurance agent, you can continue to earn, renewal commissions off of the insurance products that you sell. And so every year someone pays their premium, you continue to get paid. The other way that you can earn a residual income is that you have assets under management. Assets under management means that if I'm managing someone's money, I can charge them an investment advisory fee to manage that money if I have the proper licenses. And I get a percentage of that every single year as long as I am managing the account. I mean, how powerful is that? Imagine being a mortgage broker who sold someone a mortgage, or a real estate agent who sold someone a house, and every year they pay their mortgage, you get paid again. Well, that's obviously not how it works, which is why real estate agents, they work so hard. They put their pictures on their business cards because they have to work so hard every single year to sell more houses. That's not the case in our industry. And for me, financial planning is another revenue source, another residual income source, because I want you to think about it. Let's think about the assets under management model. If you've got $20 million under management, most advisors in the industry charge about 1%. So if you're managing $20 million, you charge 1%, you make $200,000 a year. Now, I know I told you guys there would be no math, but that's like super easy math that even I can do as a jock. Now, if you have 100 financial planning clients, by the way, who are just paying you $2,000 a year for you to help them make important financial decisions on an ongoing basis, well, guess what? That's the same $200,000 of annual revenue. The reason this is important, especially for you guys as young people coming into the industry, is that you may not know a bunch of people with a bunch of money that they can invest with you. So for you to build a residual income with $20 million and build that type of revenue right off the bat, that would be hard. But I can tell you who you do know. You know people who have financial planning challenges, who want to buy houses. You know people who have to figure out what to do with their student loans. You know people who have extra income that they need to save and invest, and they don't know where to start. You have people that have this open enrollment thing, and they don't even know what benefits they should choose. All things that you can't get paid for by selling a product, you can get paid to charge them a fee for financial planning. And that's really where the rubber meets the road. Last thing I want to do, I want to show you what our financial planning process looks like. And then I'll open it up for questions and or turn it back over to Emily. Our process is really designed to help our clients accomplish, whatever their hopes, dreams, and aspirations are, or mitigate their worst fears and nightmares. And this is where, altruistically, The value of our industry is so, so important because there's nothing more gratifying than for someone to come to you and say, if I had not worked with you, my children would probably have student loans, or I wouldn't be able to retire, or God forbid, when the worst thing happened to our family, we were protected because you helped us to create a financial plan. And so what that process looks like, it's very labor intensive, both for us and the client. But it usually starts with an introduction meeting. In that introduction meeting, I'm going to tell them all about financial planning, tell them what all is involved, get them really excited about the process, tell them how it's different than maybe that financial advisor engagement where they get sold a bunch of products, and really solidify that relationship. Once they've agreed to move forward, we do what's called a goals development meeting. We take 2 hours, we go through a questionnaire, and we develop their goals. We ask them a lot of questions that maybe they had never even thought of before. And that really helps to solidify what they're trying to accomplish. Then we have what's called a data entry review meeting. So we have a paraplanner in our practice, and that person's job is to input all the data and the client's goals into our financial planning software. And in that meeting, this data entry review meeting, that's our paraplanner meeting with the client to make sure that we've captured everything accurately. Then we do an education meeting. It's very important to us that our clients are very well educated. So we create a PowerPoint presentation specifically for every client to educate them on the tools, strategies, and ideas that will be included in their financial plan. That really helps them with the comprehension of the plan, because a lot of what we'll present to them, they have never heard of before, nor do they understand. Then in the plan delivery meeting, we go through the plan with them. And then lastly, and maybe the most important, it's the implementation meeting. And in that implementation meeting, we just develop roles and responsibilities so we know what they need to implement, what they're responsible for, what they'd like to delegate to our team if they want us to help them implement, or maybe where do we need the help of another professional. We also create dates and deadlines for when these things actually need to get accomplished. And we check in with them periodically throughout the year because all of our financial planning engagements are a 1-year engagement. All right. So I hope this was very, very helpful, helping you understand the industry. And I know I went a little longer on the financial planning side. For those of you who are interested in financial planning, feel free to reach out to me anytime if you'd like to go deeper on this process. Emily, I don't know if we have time for questions or if you got to move on to the next speaker. And I think you're on mute, Emily. I'm sorry.
First time using Zoom. No, we'll give Colin a second to get ready to make the switch over. But so yes, if anybody has any questions, feel free to either unmute yourself, turn on your camera, or use the chat feature. Looks like we've got a hand up, so go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Great. Nice. You presented a great presentation about kind of the different areas of financial planning, financial advisory, and an insurance agent that you could go into post. For example, for me, I'm a second year undergraduate at the University of Cambridge at the moment, and I'm thinking about the different licenses that I would require to maybe get into an early stage role and then develop further in that career. So what would you say would be that first step to gaining a role in maybe financial planning? Would it be looking to gain as much licenses as possible to broaden out essentially you broaden out your skills and your techniques as possible, or focus in a particular area and try and delve as deep as possible and gain as much insight in that particular niche in area of finance?
Great. I appreciate the question. I would say the first thing that you should do is maybe try to figure out specifically what you want to accomplish. And if as you look at what your goals and objectives are and you determine that you'd like to be more of a holistic sort of practitioner, then maybe you find a mentor that has a practice similar to what you would like to undertake. and then work with that mentor to figure out what the best avenue is to break into the industry. Because there's so many different ways that you can go down. And so I would not just go out and start trying to get licenses. I would really work with a mentor, figure out where you want to go, where you want to be in your practice, and then decide which licenses you'll need.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Great.
no problem.
Anybody else
Yeah,
have
that
any?
was,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Delvin. Go ahead.
yeah, you said great. I love his name. That was his name. Great. I mean, that's awesome.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Delvin. Anybody who's on, please feel free to connect with Delvin on LinkedIn. He is out there, D Joyce, the People's Choice. And thank you, Delvin, for that. And we will move on to our next speaker, who is Colin.
Hi, Emily. Can you hear me?
Yes, but we don't see you quite yet.
Okay, 1 second. Is it something that you would have to turn on, Emily? Out of curiosity.
Nope, nope, it should be on your end.
Start your video, start my video. Perfect. Hopefully I pop up in a moment. It just asked for me to start. I apologize. I'm not sure why it's not popping up, Emily. Do you want me to give me 2
Yeah,
minutes? I'll come back in 1 moment.
okay. So while we are waiting for Colin to get that figured out, again, just wanted to welcome everybody here today. If you jumped in a little bit late, my name's Emily Cabbage. I am the Senior Director of Membership at NAIFA. And I'll take this opportunity to talk a little bit about NAIFA. So NAIFA stands for the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. We have been around since 1890. So we were originally founded as the National Association of Life Underwriters, and in 2000 changed our name. And we really represent the entire financial services and insurance industry. As you learned in Delvin's presentation today, that there's just so many different things that you can go into in this career. And earlier this year in January of 2024, we actually merged with FSP, the Financial Service Professionals. And we have so we've expanded who our target market is and who our audience is. And so that group also includes CPAs and estate planning attorneys and things like that. So there are a lot of different opportunities in this career path. And one of the great things about this Future Leaders program is that you're able to make these connections. So Delvin lives in North Carolina. When Colin gets back on, he's in the Chicagoland area. Later, you'll hear from Cheryl, who's from Florida, Corey, who's from Minneapolis, JDR, who is in Nashville. So you're able to make these connections. So really, take advantage of this time. And even if you are watching this as a recording, please feel free to reach out to any of our speakers. They're just a wealth of information. They have been there, done that. When we get into the panel, you'll hear about the different career paths and the journeys that they've taken, because it's never a straight line, as many things in life are. So this is really just a great opportunity for you to learn and explore and ask questions. And I know Cheryl and Corey are actually on a little bit early, so I don't know if while we're waiting for Colin, if you guys want to hop on and maybe talk about NAIFA, your experience. We'll kind of do a lead into your session.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit. Thanks, Emily. My name is Cheryl Canzanella, and I'll be speaking on the panel along with Corey and John Richardson in just a bit. But NAIFA has been my, I would say, not just it been a big part of my career, but also my life. As you'll find out, I've met, as you'll see in the next session, I've met some really wonderful people that are actually my friends, but they have helped me create my career path, which has changed over the years, and that's okay. Like Emily said, it's not a straight line always. So finding people that are in our industry and finding the ability to ask questions. I think Delvin mentioned that as well. It's always important to ask questions and learn what other people are doing and get advice and seek advice. And that's very easily done here in NAIFA.
Great, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
I wouldn't be in this business if it wasn't for NAIFA. Literally 90% of the business that I do has come from NAIFA. So I work as a disability insurance geek or disability insurance specialist, whatever you want to call it. And I work with other advisors' clients. And frankly, I probably quit this business in my head, I don't know, a couple thousand times. Luckily, I have a wonderful wife that encouraged me and never let me quit and reminded me that, hey, we have 4 kids. You're responsible for 18 meals a day on the dinner table. So you better provide and step up, show up, and suit up. And NAIFA's been everything for me. We'll get into a little bit about even like some political things that I've done with NAIFA, some personal stuff, business stuff. But what's great is even going to be doing this with Cheryl and John from the standpoint of those two. We're actually in a monthly study group together. So we get together and read a book, which I don't read. Audiobook's your friend if you don't like to read. So I don't like to sit and read for hours on end, but I spend plenty of time in front of a windshield and listen to books. So anyways, we'll talk about that. And then I wouldn't know Emily if it wasn't for NAIFA, which, I mean, she's from Iowa. We won't hold that against her, but, maybe we will. We'll see. But we'll get into all this and all things NAIFA. It's been like a family within my business that I can share ideas with and bounce ideas off of, and people that'll talk me off the ledge. And sometimes when I need to go off the ledge, they'll help push me. So it's a great group, and can't wait to share more about it.
Thank you. And I know Colin's having trouble joining. He's keeps saying that he's in there. So we'll kind of keep this conversation flowing here and see if we can okay, let's see. It looks like he's in. We'll give it 1 second. There he is. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Colin. Sorry about that.
I
Thank
think that
you,
might have been
Cheryl
on
and
my
Corey.
end, so I apologize about that.
That's okay. That's okay. It's a great thing that we've got so many of our lovely members on here, and so we're able to pivot. So do you have a PowerPoint to share, or are you just
I
talking?
don't, and
Okay,
I
all
got,
good,
because we're
all
running
good.
a few minutes behind, that might
Yep.
be beneficial, right? So
Yes. Nope.
the
You
good
are.
news is I know Chris, and he's probably running a few minutes behind himself. So the stars may have aligned on this one. So
Yes, you are all good. Go ahead.
cool. So, well, first and foremost, thank you, Emily, for inviting me. My name is Colin Aubin. I'm a managing director and brokerage director for Park Avenue Securities and Guardian Life Insurance Company of America. I do not anticipate for any of the students who are here with us today to really know what that means, which is totally fine. I'm going to break it down for you because the topic that I've been asked to speak on is finding your best fit. And that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, because underneath the umbrella of finance, as the prior speaker just touched on, there are a lot of different avenues you can go. So what I wanted to do was just give you 30 seconds of my bio quickly. And I see that I've frozen and I look somewhat stupid, so that's apropos. But I was 22 years old. I graduated from Illinois Wesleyan University, which is a small liberal arts school in Illinois. And I had an English and history degree with a minor in poli-sci. I thought I wanted to be an attorney. And I found out in my junior and senior year through an internship that wasn't a path that I wanted to choose or wanted to pursue. So anyways, I graduated from school in '08, which was a awful time for everyone who was looking for a job, just because what was going on in the economy. So very long story short, I was presented really with two options, as were most of my friends. You either went back to school and you got an MBA or some sort of higher education, or you got a job, fought like hell to keep it, or if you were like me and didn't know what you wanted to do, you thought the idea of maybe building something larger through this idea of financial services was, might be worth a try. So again, I came from a liberal arts background. I wandered into an office from Mass Mutual, which is a financial services firm. And they interviewed me. I was an athlete when I was younger, so they like kind of the pedigree of not only being competitive, but I graduated with degrees that show them that I could be teachable, coachable, and learn a few things as it pertained to finance along the way. So uh, from 23 to 27, I built my practice. I bootstrapped it in financial services, which for me meant I focused on bringing people to the table, to discuss life, disability, long-term care insurance, as well as what they were doing on the wealth management side of things, right? What are we doing to grow your wealth? Because not only are we going to talk about, how we can protect it, but we can't be all defense and no offense, and vice versa. So from 22, 23 to 27, I built my practice working with John and Jane Smith, as I, lovingly still refer to them, which meant, my friends, my family, my neighbors, people who knew me on a favorable basis prior to me getting into financial services and having something to sell them, right? And so I did that for 5 or 6 years. I did a lot of joint work and learned the ins and outs of the business, not just the products and the finance side of it, as it were, but really, and I appreciate what the prior speaker said, the process, right? How do we sit down and garner someone's trust so they're willing to talk to you about things that they probably aren't comfortable even discussing around the Thanksgiving dinner table. Their debts, right? What is still overhanging, from school, credit cards. How do we get, the kids through college, and even, as a microcosm of that, just smaller day-to-day things, right? How do we budget from month to month, right? So, I was fortunate to work with people from NAIFA. I didn't realize how fortunate I was at the time, that saw something in me as a younger individual and taught me the business, right? Not just how do we help individuals, but how do we monetize relationships as well. And I mean that in a very loving way, because what I'm about to hit on here is when we talk about finding your best fit in finance, right? So fast forward, I'm 39. So I've, been in the trenches, as it were. I still work with my clients every single day, but now I also spend a lot of my time on the brokerage side, which means when other people from whether it be attorneys or CPAs or anyone in the ecosystem of financial services want to utilize my company's products, they contact me in order to do so. But one of the things that I want to make sure that I make very clear is this idea of finding your best fit is you don't have to come into it with a perceived notion based on what your undergrad was of this is where I fit in best, right? When I do the interviewing for my firm, and I don't do a lot of it, what I find is a lot of people will come in and they'll start discussing with me things that really don't pertain to the job that I'm hiring for, right? And they'll come in and they'll discuss, I took an econ class. I did, they'll get very, very analytical with me. Whereas in financial services, it's much more about relationship building. It's much more about, the ability to, when I talk about monetize relationships, what I mean by that is how do you bring people to the table to discuss things and bring value to their lives? And that doesn't mean you don't discuss analytical, because you have to, analytical topics, but it's far different than someone who comes into finance and perhaps, they really enjoy, you know, going over numbers, spreadsheets. They want to be someone who's in the trenches going over line item by line item, that lends itself to an entirely different career within finance. So I say that because one of the things that I have found with younger individuals is make sure you understand the job that you're interviewing for, right? If you're talking to someone inside of financial services, what you're probably discussing with them is a more entrepreneurial type of role where early on, again, you're going to be out there in your job, you're really tasked with creating opportunities for the firm. And what that means is bringing people in to have these conversations to discuss ultimately products that you can, help provide for them in an effort to help them reach their goals. But that is far different than an individual who, let's say, wants to get in finance, but really again enjoys an analytical approach and wants to talk about the emerging markets and what that might mean for this subset of a portfolio. And I hope I'm using this as the most respectful example because I have friends on both sides of the equation. What's really cool about my job is I kind of fall in between, but those are two radically different roles within finance. So when we talk about finding your best fit, make sure one is more geared towards, I think, a sales approach, whereas one is more, let's say, for an individual who might be more geared towards a trading background, right? Someone who's going to be looking in front of 6 or 7 screens. And I have friends who do that all day, every day. And, neither is better nor worse, but what they do on a daily basis, they'll tell you is radically different from what I do. So again, this idea of finding your best fit, if you have questions for me, which I more than welcome, I will probably be able to speak more towards the idea of how do we get inside of financial services, which is, as the gentleman before me said, more entrepreneurial, as opposed to, let's say, the individual who has, again, a more analytical, someone who is a little bit more by the numbers, geeks out on kind of that, that approach to their day and their studies. So, Emily, I did not have a PowerPoint presented, but what I was hoping to do was kind of given that background to see if anyone had some questions, anything that they wanted to open up, just kind of a Q&A for, I think, the last like 10 or 15 minutes, if that's cool with you.
Yep. Yes, that works great.
And Emily, as someone who's interviewed me, is there anything that you would add that I didn't touch on? I was trying to be
Well, I
efficient with my
think
summation.
I think you had some great Wheelerisms that you could mention that
Yeah, nature
the
versus
words of
nurture.
wisdom.
There's a hell of an argument to be made for the nature side of it. So
Yes. So, yeah, no, I mean, Colin, you've got a great, tremendous story. So Colin is actually going to be the second year president of NAIFA Chicagoland. So we'll give it a second. And if anybody has any questions or, wants to know more about, how Colin made the switch from pursuing a career in law to getting into the financial services industry, either raise your hand, feel free to unmute, turn your camera on. We'll give it a second for that. Everybody's shy now.
no,
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Braxton.
how influential is Ted Lasso in your career? So first of all, I love that question. Not as influential as you would think. And the reason why I say that is I'm 39. So Ted Lasso is like my background is actually Stamford Bridge. So that's John Terry on the wall. And then I'll flex for a second, Frank Lampard. And then I've got Drogba and Hazard. I was a soccer player growing up. So this is the believe sign is Ted Lasso, of course, but everything else is more Chelsea inspired. But I do love the show. And I have some friends who have been fortunate enough to play professionally in Europe. And they say that the inside the locker room, obviously, it's not as R-rated as you might think, but they say the general back and forth is pretty spot on. So, cheers to the writing on that part. Thank you, Braxton.
That was actually JDR. Now Braxton's got his question for you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I got a different question. Not quite about Ted Lasso.
Okay.
What's up, Colin? My name is Braxton. I have a
Okay.
couple opportunities that I could pursue, and I'm wondering how I pick between ones, um, ones that fit better for me, and then ones that I have more options for. So I'm interning at a financial planning firm. It's got 1.5 billion AUM, and uh, my dad is a partner there. And so I have a really good opportunity in that company to try to work my way up and become partner as well. However, that will take 20, 30 years, maybe 15 years, however long it might take. And I won't be good enough to serve these 20 to $50 million clients.
Got it. So in that, like, are they asking you then to go out and like get the CFA? Is that kind of the evolution of the career? Because if you
Um,
work for like I'm assuming it's an RIA then.
yeah,
Yeah, it's an RIA. I mean, I've got friends who from Wesleyan who like it's the exact same story. He started at a Northwestern Mutual, which is like as entrepreneurial as it gets, right? I did two Mass Mutual, Northwestern, New York Life. Like this is agnostic, right,
yeah,
to any jersey, right? We're just going to talk in generalities here. And he'll tell you, there's pros and cons to each side. He's now a partner at his dad's RIA. He had to do it the hard way because his dad was a partner. So he thought he probably should have been made a partner about 5 years ago. But he said it's a totally different ball game. It's just kind of like, he's more, like I said earlier, a spreadsheet guy, right? So it's like, there's a barrier to entry in any financial services gig, whether your dad's in, the firm or not. It's just kind of like, what are they going to ask of you? Do they want you to be the guy who's in the room bringing the assets to the table to then discuss with the CFAs and the portfolio managers what the strategy is, right?
yeah. I
Or,
believe that's what they want. I
okay,
have an
because,
older brother that's
yeah,
pursuing the analytical route and is going for a CFA.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, you probably get a kick out of this because you grew up with this. It's like the Billion Show, right? Like, you have the guys who are like Goodwill Hunting smart, right? Just
Mhm.
mathematics. And I have friends like that who they're traders now, right? But
Yep,
they don't do this anymore. Like back in the day, right? In the pits, they have
yep,
6 screens in front of them, right? And
mhm,
like, or they go the investment banking route. They get their MBAs from a top 10 school, right? In finance. And, they do 80 hours a week is on the low end. And they do that for 10 to 15 years and they make awesome money. But it's, like they know exactly what that career trajectory looks like, both from an education standpoint, the hours committed, and then ultimately financially what they reap the rewards of it. That's no different than like the RIA path. Like that is no different than any big four accounting, right? You
mhm,
want to be a partner at Price Waterhouse Coopers, Ernst and Young, anyone here who wants to become the CPA, right? Any of the big firms, you do the same thing, right? That is different than, are you the guy who, you're at the golf outing, right? And that sounds really cool, but you're at the golf outing because not that you don't have a good head on your shoulders, but you're more of an asset for us because your ability to cultivate a relationship and
mhm,
garner someone's trust, right? Earn someone's trust in a very quick way, in a very competitive environment to then bring them to the table, right? That's a different route altogether. And then there's a
yeah,
hybrid. And if you can do the hybrid, right, then you make $1 billion, I guess, right? And like I know people like that too. But for most people, that won't be the track. So like to answer your question, right? I don't know, it's kind of up to you. Like if I were you, and I don't even know you, but if I were you and that were my thing, if you want to, um, you know, see if you can go out and be the guy and get the assets, see if you can go out and be the guy who can get the assets, because it sounds like your dad's firm's going to be there one way or the other. So,
Mhm.
you know, you can find out the hard way. And, you know, I don't know what the cut is on your old, you know, your dad's side, but if you do it yourself and you know, you proof is in the
Thank you.
pudding, you can
Yeah.
make far more money, right? So I don't know if that helps or hurts you, but like I said, that's when we talk about like finding your best fit. People who come to me and they want to talk to me about like that CFA route and like, you know, do you think like the MBA from like, you know, I'm from Chicago, like Northwestern or UFC, it's like that's great. Like I don't need that. Like I need young, hungry, ambitious, you know, good head on their shoulders, coachable,
Mm.
you know, are going to get kicked in the teeth more often than not, because that's what my, you know, that's what it is for the first 5 years, right? And like when you talk about compensation, which I heard the other gentleman touch on, like find your best fit. Emily, do I have 2 minutes to talk about comp? Sure, why not, right? Okay. So like the number one question that I get, right? And I don't do the interviewing for my firm anymore, but I did when I was younger. And why I got out of it was like, you know, we would have people who would fit the perfect model of what we were looking for. But they couldn't get past the idea that like all of their friends were going and they were getting hired for jobs that you know, we're going to pay them 50, 60, 70 grand a year. I don't even know what that number is now, right? Like, there's got to be people from the Chicagoland market. Like, someone want to throw up, like, what is a recruiting firm start you out at, right? 60 grand, 70 grand. Someone here's got a, whatever it is, right? So they would ask me, they would be interviewing, they'd be like, well, you know, 70 grand and then another, you know, 15 to 20. Like, so you figure like you're doing the math, like, all right, that's 80, $85,000 if I'm somewhat good at this in my first year, right? Versus I'm interviewing at this financial services firm who they're telling me, one, I got to get licensed. I don't even know what the F that means, but it's going to cost me money. I'm probably not going to make anything. I'm going to get, you know, kicked in the teeth, right? I'm going to have to go and discuss money with people for the first time in my life when I've been told from the time I could understand English, don't ever bring up money in situations, right? So it's like, um, you know, like the people who are willing to go down that path and don't need the security, right? Of that 50, 60, 70,000. I just use recruiting because that seems, or like logistics is huge in Chicago as well,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're willing to forego that, right? Find your
Mhm.
best fit, right? Even within finance, you know, the reason why we don't pay people, you know, set base salaries is like it's a 90% flunk out rate, right?
Yeah.
Financial services. Like you know
Mhm.
that you're you know, and so and that's without having family in the business, right? So it's like we want to know, and I tell people like I've got younger, you know, family, like if you come into our industry, we're doing you a favor by not giving you that money. The reason being, if you're going to flunk out, we want you to flunk out right away, you know, so then you could go and you can get hired at, you know, whatever, right? And, you know, if you're willing to kind of, you know, out of school, the reason why I say this to you specifically because of your question, sounds like, you know, you could, you know, always dip your toe back on, you know, in one side of the pond. So if I were
Yeah.
you, I'd shit, man, roll the dice if you think you can do it.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line is if you're willing to forego the safety up front, you know, there's a benefit to doing that, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I don't know if that helps or hurts you, but if you're not the CFA type, again, if you're not the guy who wants to sit down and go through why it makes sense in the portfolio, you're more geared towards bringing that individual to the table. You sound better suited for one route versus the other. Sounds like you probably
Yeah.
already knew that. I don't know if that helps or hurts you, but
I did. Yeah, I did. I did. At least that last
out of
part.
curiosity, like you going one way or the other? Because I'll probably, I don't know. I'm happy to talk to you offline about this if you want to get,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to throw you on the spot, but you know,
Thank you.
Yeah, cool, man.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
But that's what I meant by the compensation. Like people are always asking, they're like, why don't you guys like, don't get me wrong. Like if you go to any one of the major financial firms, right, they'll give you money in the form of a draw, right?
Mhm.
But it's like, it's a draw based off of what you're going to produce. So
Yeah.
again, it's more entrepreneurial based. It's more like, we're gonna eat what we kill mentality, which is far different than some of my friends who went on a more analytical side, who are, pursuing CFAs or doing the trading, whatever. So,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
yeah,
very
man.
much.
Awesome. Thank you. Great question, Braxton, and really kind of got into some other details. So, Colin, thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing your insights and kind of where your path has been and how you've gotten there and what it takes to find your best fit. So, thank you so much. So next we're going to go to our panel, which is Kathleen Owings, John D. Richardson, Corey Anderson, and Cheryl Canzanella. And so these groups, these four individuals, I have the pleasure of knowing pretty well, and they actually are all of our past Young Advisor Team Leaders of the Year. So, so you've got some of the youngest, brightest, or at one point we're youngest, right? I think
Hey.
I think we're all pretty close to the same age, so I won't judge too much. But and so they've got a great story. Everybody's going to kind of talk about, what their path has been. So I'll just kind of open this up, and then so we'll do some dialogue back and forth with everybody, and then again, all of you will have a chance to engage directly with these people, with our panelists. So so whoever wants to kick it off, talk about where you're from, your practice specialty, because I know all of you kind of have different things going on there. So I think that's a good mix of people blend in here, and how you got there. So go ahead.
I can start, Emily. I don't mind.
Go right ahead.
Even though you insulted my age, I can't believe it. But you're right. You're right. We're all aging. Kathleen Owings, I am from the great state of Colorado. I'm originally from New York. I grew up just outside of New York City on the east side of the Hudson River, if you're familiar with that area. And I attended the United States Military Academy. So I served in the Army for 8 years once I completed my college experience. Lived all over the country, all over the world, deployed to Iraq in 2003 for Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was a Corps of Engineer officer, and my husband also served. He was a helicopter pilot. Got into this business accidentally. My dad is actually a NAIFA member in New York. We do some joint work together, but not a lot. But I never thought I would get into the business. I think a lot of people say that, especially when their parents are in it. But after I got out of the Army, I was a civil engineer on job sites. Yes, I still have my boots and hard hat. I hated it. It was not my calling, but it was really good experience, especially for doing home projects and working with contractors. After that, I was a headhunter, and I was really bad. I quit before I thought they were going to fire me because I was not good. How I got into this business is another headhunter was kind of listening to me complain about my job. And I wanted to be with people. I'm an extrovert, but be in front of people. The headhunting was over the phone. I hated that. And I wanted to use my background. I liked being an engineer. I like math, but it really wasn't getting that in any of those other careers. And she said, hey, you should call this guy, Dan Session at New England Financial. I think you might be a good financial advisor. So she was way better at recruiting and headhunting than I was. Called him. It was a cold call. And I said, hey, I want to learn more about what you do. And I met with Dan. And then I kind of explored other options. I looked at Merrill Lynch at the time, Bank of America, talked to some other groups here in Colorado Springs. And I ultimately ended up going with New England. It was, you do the little personality tests, and I checked all those boxes. I was fortunate. My husband had a stable job. I wasn't making a lot as a headhunter anyway. So I'm like, well, we're not going to starve. I can only go up because I'm making nothing. So I had already made that jump from W-2 to 1099 and felt that pain. And new to the speaker's point earlier, this is a long build. I agree. People think we make a ton of money initially. We don't, but if you stick with it, it's pretty damn good because I own my schedule. I make as much as I want. I work as much as I want, which is probably too much, but I love it. I'm a business owner. We do comprehensive financial planning and assets under management primarily. And I mean, I can't imagine doing anything else. So that's my story.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Cheryl, you should go next.
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, thanks, Sean. And so my name is Cheryl Canzanella, and I'm located, born and raised in Florida. I actually graduated from Palm Beach Atlantic University, and I'm currently the NAIFA Florida incoming president for 2025. And kind of like Kathleen, I fell into the industry. There really wasn't any college degrees or any planning focused degrees or positions within universities at the time. And I don't know that I would have taken that path. So I really did fall into this industry too. I started at Merrill Lynch. I didn't know what a stock or bond was. I was in marketing. I actually was an annuity marketing specialist. Didn't even know what an annuity was, but it's a product. I was kind of an internal sales support to advisors like Kathleen. And I kind of wanted to go the route of being a financial advisor, but back then, I really didn't know anyone that had investments, just, a couple $100,000 just to invest. So kind of like what Delvin was saying, I didn't have the contacts, and Merrill Lynch wasn't ready to train me on how to prospect for that and teach me about marketing myself and building those relationships. So since I didn't have that network, I got a little nervous, but I think that's what makes me qualified to be where I am today. I had an opportunity to do many different backgrounds. So I think Colin had mentioned, not having a straightforward path. My background is a little kind of dabbled in every area. And that's what I feel, especially being in college, you may not know exactly what you want to do. Just by participating on this call that NAIFA is providing, it's going to give you different views into backgrounds. But I looked into, I was in compliance. So compliance would be the person that's kind of overseeing the sales that somebody like Kathleen or John would be doing. And I was a nice compliance lady. But I had a chance to recruit, new people to the industry, somebody like yourself that was looking for, hey, should I join the bank or should I join the wirehouse? Should I join an insurance company? So I had a chance to really get my feet wet in a couple of different areas. I've been in the business for about 25 years now. And the last 10 years, very much like Colin, I was focused in what we call brokerage for Mass Mutual. And I worked with advisors throughout the US on offering products. So as Delvin was saying, he does more of the financial planning route like Kathleen. I was selling individual insurance products to people like such as themselves. And it's really kind of rounded me out into the ability and gaining the experience that I have to connect me into the mortgage industry. So I am the specialist. So as you are building your business and if you choose financial planning, you're looking at, okay, well, I need to be really good in one area and focus on partnering with people that are specialists in other areas. And that's where I come in. I kind of connect the home equity side of the business with people who do financial planning to review things like home equity and how it has an impact on their retirement. So I've been doing that for about 3 years now. And like I said, I had no idea what I was doing getting into this industry. And everything that I've been able to, get my hands on has really molded me into where I am today. And I will share that being a part of NAIFA has had a huge impact on that because NAIFA was one of the first places I learned about incorporating home equity into the financial planning process. So yeah, you don't have to always know exactly where you want to be in order to get to where your destination is.
Absolutely. No, that's a great story, Cheryl. I think just how you're you just kind of loop all over the place. John or Corey, whoever wants to go next. John says Corey. Okay, Corey, you're up. DI Geek.
I just texted him and said he's up, but anyways, whatever. So it's great being on this group with all of you. And I mean, when I was, in kindergarten, they said, "What do you want to do for a living?" I totally said, "I want to do insurance and I want to do disability insurance and I want to help people protect their income." Not a police officer, not a firefighter, not an astronaut. I want to be an insurance guy. No, that wasn't the real case. I wanted to do something else. Nobody else wants to be an insurance person unless maybe their parents an insurance person. But anyways, I fell into this industry because I was a 2.3 GPA student in high school, which means I pretty much did nothing. Got into one college and I went there and graduated in 3.5 years, made the dean's list, did a rock star job in college, and was graduating early and had no clue what I was going to do with my life other than I didn't want to live at home. I wanted to have my own business someday. I wanted to eventually get married and have kids. And if my spouse wanted to be a domestic engineer homemaker, that was one of my goals because I always wanted that with having a single parent raising me. So those are my goals. But how do you get into financial services? And I interviewed because my mom was at a dinner and was talking me up and doing what parents do and said, "Hey, my kid's graduating next year." And this person at Guardian, which is part of Park Avenue Securities that Colin was talking about earlier, anyways, interviewed me and said, "Hey, you'd be great in this industry." Well, then I take all the tests, and the tests say you'd be horrible at this industry, which is hilarious because 25 years later, I am still in this industry. But, anyways, I started out doing that right out of school. I'm like, you know what? Fine, I'll go become an advisor and teach people about insurance and financial planning, and I'm going to make millions. This is going to be the greatest thing ever. But you know what you got to do? You got to pick up the phone and call people. And then you got to go like meet total random strangers and somehow turn them into clients. And they say start with your friends and family. Well, I didn't really have friends and family that were making a fortune. So that wasn't like a natural market. And I never picked up the phone. Instead, I would go to college. It was my second semester senior year, but I was already done. And I'd go drink my brains away for 3 to 5 day weekends. Not the brightest thing, but that's what I did. And so I failed miserably at it and got tied into a brokerage that was in the firm, the kind of a separate company at the same office. And they specialized in disability insurance, but they also did some life insurance and long-term care, but they did it on a brokerage side, which means they work with many carriers and many advisors. Started working there, just getting cases through underwriting and like working with underwriters, working with getting exams done and doing all the behind the scenes learning about insurance. Did that for about 6 months, and they said, "Why don't you be our brokerage rep and go teach people how to sell disability insurance?" I was just barely 22. I could barely spell disability, and I'm supposed to teach people on how to sell this. Like, are you kidding me? And disability insurance. This is like the redheaded stepchild of the entire industry. Like, nobody likes to talk about disability insurance. It's like the last thing anybody talks about when it should be, frankly, the first thing they talk about. So I decided to start doing that, did it for about 3 years. And then they came to me, and what a humbling experience. They said, "We've eliminated your position." Well, really, they hired a replacement, but they had a vision and they wanted me to go self employed and start working with advisors that I was frustrated with because they couldn't sell the disability insurance and go do it for them. And that's how Disability Geek started back in 2003. And you know how like they don't just deliver it on a silver platter and say, "Hey, here's your opportunity. It's going to be so wonderful." Like at the time I was angry. I had a jet ski, I had a couple of snowmobiles, I had a cabin, I had a boat. Like I mean literally I had the life. Brand new house I had built. I was living the high life. And then all of a sudden you're going to make zero income and you're going to start your own business. You're going to be self-employed. And with disability insurance, if somebody comes to me and wants to buy disability insurance today, if I get paid in 6 months, that's fast. So I'm literally going to do all that. And then, oh, by the way, I start dating this girl I had pursued for 5 years. We finally start dating right at that moment. And so I go from being living the high life to being broker than broke. And I made it all work. And it's frankly the best time to do it was at that time. But this industry, like, oh, I love it. Like I go to a sports game for my kids And like they'll have a 4 o'clock volleyball game on a weekday, and it'll be 40 minutes from our house where all our kids live. And I will show up and I'm one of two dads. There's at least 12 dads on the team, and I'm one of two dads that shows up. Think about that. And then moms, how many moms do you think are there? Not 12, maybe 5. Think of that. All the other kids have no parents coming and seeing them because they're having to work this 9 to 5 job or this 8 to 6 job or whatever. This is the greatest industry. The barrier to entry, though, the first 5 or 10 years, it's not rosy, it's not great, it's rough, but you know what? That's where you get your battle scars from, and you build on it, and that's where how you get to where you want to be. And so I had that dream and that vision, but it was one of those things where it wasn't delivered on a silver platter. Many a times I thought I should maybe walk away, but my gosh, frankly, thanks to some of the people on this Zoom right here with us and many other NAIFA members, I stuck with it. In fact, I got involved in NAIFA as a board member when I was 22 years old. And they're like, hey, you're going to run the young advisor group. And I'm like, how do you even spell that? Like, remember, 2.3 GPA in high school. Like, I love talking to people and seeing people. The behind the scenes, oh gosh, just eliminate me now. John, you're up.
Is awesome. Okay, Braxton, Hannah, we just lost one person. If you, Braxton, Hannah, if y'all could do me a solid and turn your cameras on so I can make eye contact with y'all as we share our story. And so I want to make sure you guys are paying attention because there we go. What's up, Braxton? Hannah? Yeah, by the way, Hannah, if you're having a bad hair day, just leave your camera off, you know. But if you're having a good hair day, then we'd love to see you and connect with you. Give you a second. So here's my story, short version. When I was in college, had the best summer job a kid could have, sold books and Bibles door to door. Not 1 or 2 summers, but I did for 5 summers. Yes, I was a door-to-door Bible salesman who wore bow ties. Not while I sold, but yeah, I'm like a walking cliche. When I graduated, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to be interacting with people because I love talking to strangers. For anybody who ever meets me, they'll pick up pretty quickly. I don't meet a stranger. We're going to become besties. I'm going to take a selfie with you with a patented thumbs up. It's just part of the deal. So anyway, long story short, did that for about, well, did it for 5 summers, went to work for John Hancock selling long-term care insurance. Imagine, you know, as you're earning your stripes, smiling, dialing, cold calling 200 to 250 people per day and just hammering the phones, calling folks to schedule meetings to talk about long-term care insurance. It lasted about 9 months. And I'm like, this is horrible. I mean, there was like a hole in the wall from where I was beating my head. And I was like, this is not sustainable. I can't do this. I'm out. So went from that to being a full-time substitute school teacher, which was easy, but was not challenging. And I'm like, this isn't a right fit for me long-term. Friends of mine were like, John, what are you doing? Put your resume out there, see what would happen. So I did. Next thing I'm working for this guy named Dave Ramsey. You guys have probably heard of him on the radio. Worked for him for 2 years, part of his team. And imagine they put me on the phone talking to pastors at churches all over the US. And then they put me on a plane, flew me out to these different cities to be a traveling cheerleader to promote Dave's message of hope. But at the end of the day, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't want to just work for the man. I wanted to be the man, which is a conversation you need to have with yourself at some point in your career. Do you want to be an employee working for somebody else, or do you want to be an entrepreneur working for yourself? And so I made that decision. And so almost 20 years ago, it'll be February, it'll be 20 years. I started, and man, talk about Corey's broke stories. I'd go to Aldi. If you want to find the best place to get cheap food, go to Aldi. You can buy a lot of food for next to nothing. I used to write my name on my bananas in the little area in our lunchroom so people wouldn't steal my food, because imagine like living off of $50 a week, or excuse me, a month, in as far as you make ends meet. But you fast forward all these years, you grind it out, and then you actually enjoy life, to Corey's point. So some key takeaways: 20 years in the business, went from product sales to financial planning to now I do fee-based planning. I was jotting down as Corey was talking some things that takeaways that I've learned from my experience is, first, you got to have a team with you. And when I say team, first thing you do is marry well. That's so important. If it wasn't for Stacy, I know Corey wouldn't be the Corey that he is. And actually, with these 2 ladies, with Cheryl and Kathleen, I know both of their husbands, and they're amazing people. So when you meet somebody, be patient and don't jump and marry the first person, but be intentional. because whoever you do marry is going to positively or negatively impact your life. And so marry well. Second is good. Find an amazing mentor, somebody that's got 10-year to 15-year jump on you, that has a life that you want to have. Link up with them and help have them mentor you into this business, because that's a smart way of doing it. Third is realize this: you're not going to be gifted in all areas. You're going to have some weaknesses and some strengths. Lean into your strengths, delegate your weaknesses, and that's okay. If you're not a detail oriented person, I know Corey's not. He has people that do all of his paperwork and he loves it. I'm the same way. I love talking to strangers, but you can sit me down with an application 2, 3 hours later, I'm still working on it. And that's not a good use of my time. Plus it drains me emotionally when I'm doing paperwork. So one is have a team around you. Another key point I take away would be align what you do, whatever you decide, Braxton, this is for you. As you decide what you want to be when you grow up, align your decisions with your purpose or your calling in life. And so when you wake up every morning, you're excited about going to work. You're not like, I'm looking at this as a paycheck. If your motivation is to make as much money as possible, hey, that's great for you. That doesn't motivate me, because at the end of the day, it's like you make so much money, then what? It's never enough, or you just reach a satisfaction where you're just kind of like, but if you're aligning your daily actions with your bigger purpose and calling in life, then you don't really care about the money, because your heart is in the right, in my opinion, your heart is in the right place, because you're serving others, you're adding value, and you're excited about every day because it's a gift. And so lean into that would be my advice. The third and final would be to, like I mentioned, focus on the service of others. I think Zig Ziglar said it best: if you give enough people what they want, in return, you receive, your needs are personally met. So serve others and add value and show up. Corey's at these games. He's probably watching Maggie at her softball games. And while he's there, he's talking to these people and he's just asking questions, getting to know them. He's not hard pitching the whole time. He's just doing life with them. And at some point, they'll ask you, what do you do? Or at some point they'll say, you need to talk to my friend so-and-so. So solutions come to the surface, opportunities to add value to other people's lives just come if you ask great questions, be quiet, and listen to others. And so that's my, I guess, 2, 3 minutes overview. So if you guys are ever coming through Nashville, Tennessee, you're more than welcome to reach out. As Emily can attest, I give the best tours of my hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. Actually, all of you guys have been through Nashville. Kathleen, yeah, Cheryl, and Corey, so y'all know. So Braxton, you're up. Hannah, if I ever get to see what you look like, if you're still with us, then I'll know who you are, and you're more than welcome to come through Nashville. We'd love to, my wife Kelly and I, we'd love to give you a nickel tour of our hometown. So,
And if we didn't mention it, I think Corey might have, but definitely connect with us on LinkedIn. But while you're chatting, John and Corey, would you say this is a people person industry?
100%. And it's
100%.
I will say too on what John said about welcoming you. You ever come to Minnesota, we'll teach you how to wake surf. John doesn't like water, so he wore like 6 life jackets, but we'll literally teach you how to wake surf. We wake surf, my wife and I and my 4 kids, like literally we go out at 2 o'clock almost every day of the week. We drive out to the lake and go. The other thing too is if you ever want to see how I do my business, you can literally take a test run and literally come with on appointments. All my appointments are virtual. And if you're interested in that, you can go to my website, disabilitygeek.com. Disabilitygeek.com in the top right corner, schedule an appointment and let's chat. And then if you want to see, hey, how does this work? He works with the clients all day. All my clients are other advisors' clients. And so John will be working with the client and say, hey, we're doing a financial plan, but your number one asset is your ability to show up and suit up and go to work every day and earn an income. And so literally he'll say, hey, I'm going to have you work with my geeky friend Corey. He's kind of a nerd. He's going to make fun of me, which I make fun of John all the time. I mean, look at him. He wears a bow tie. He's easy target. But anyways, I'll literally work with his clients and they can schedule off of our website. And then I work with them all remote. And once we get everything done, I send copies of the pages to John of what we implemented. And sometimes we'll bring John in the process. But anyways, it's a phenomenal business. And I'll also say something else about niches. Find your niche. What's your niche? Like, I didn't look for disability insurance. Disability insurance kind of found me, but then I had that opportunity back in 2003 where I could have gone and got some other job. They would have helped me find another job. They loved me and loved the work I was doing, but they didn't want me to be an employee. They wanted me to start my own practice. Well, that was an opportunity that didn't always feel like an opportunity right at the moment, but what an opportunity looking back. Like, wow, now I have the absolute best life you could ever have. And it's wonderful. And my wife and kids love it. And it's the things we do is crazy. Like Christmas, we take 2 weeks off. We just shut down for 2 weeks. My staff takes 2 weeks off. We take 2 weeks off. Point being is, I think of, as one of my buddies said, it's not the right way to pronounce it, but he goes, there's riches in the niches. And the niches have literally amazing opportunities where you just become that expert. And what I do now is work with other advisors, clients, and I teach them how to bring it up and talk about it. And no offense, but they're all terrible at selling disability insurance. So I'll come to the rescue and handle it for them.
Why we work with specialists.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you that one of the greatest things, and it's been mentioned a couple times, Kathleen mentioned it about this being a great industry, is it can also be a challenge, because I have seen too many people get into this industry and think that, oh, it's okay to take off at 3 o'clock. It's okay to come in at 10 o'clock. I mean, you really need to be in the earliest, out the latest, and kind of grind in the very beginning in order to take advantage of those opportunities, because you really are your own business owner. So if you don't put that time in, like Kathleen said, it can come back and bite you.
Yeah, I think the time, to me, I think of it like the time value of money, like starting your Roth when you're young. You'll see it grow over time. But initially when you're putting in, $50, you're like, this doesn't do anything. Well, it does. It takes time. I agree with you, Cheryl, on putting your time in. I remember when I first started, came in kind of the old way 17 years ago, where they'd have like classes and they'd bring in as many people and see what stuck, throw it against the wall. I don't know if anyone was in my classes still in the business. I think we had like 13. And I remember one of the older advisors, I was working late, and he's like, you're going to make it because you're here late every night. You get in here in the morning and you're hustling. Now, it didn't feel like I was getting anywhere, to be honest. But again, it's that, again, going back to the money, time value, money, compounding interest. It just takes time to build these things. If you've, ever worked out, you don't feel like you're getting anywhere sometimes, but one day you wake up, you're like, oh, I feel better. Things do look better, but it's just putting your head down and grinding.
Hey, one thing I'll chime in on about too is the too much freedom. You have a lot of freedom, but when I was early on, um, I'll say it this way: we were shooting out kids like a Pez dispenser at my family. That's what we always say. We had a bunch of kids, and literally like more kids than we could afford at the time. And I mean, like, John's budget of $50. I mean, ours was like 150 for 4 of us for the month. It was terrible. And point being at the time though is I could have gone home every day at 2 o'clock and hung out with the family. I had a rule Monday through Friday. My goal was one night a week to be home for dinner. One night to see my kids for dinner before they got to bed. That was it. One night a week. Now, Saturday and Sunday, I did not, I mean, I maybe worked 2 Saturdays a year, but Monday through Friday, it was all business. We're going start to finish. But you also got to be careful then eventually that you enjoy it so that you don't get too focused on the money or the production or something like that. I see a lot of advisors where they can't enjoy it. And I think of you got to enjoy that ride and enjoy the balance. Like figure out eventually the balance. In the beginning, it's never going to be balanced. It's work, work, or work. But you're building a better future for yourself and for your family. And then eventually you figure out that nice balance. I'm probably more to the too much freedom, but that's okay. I love it now, but I had it because of all the work I did 20 some years ago building this and even 15 years ago. My kids don't really remember that part because by the time I figured out a way to get it successful, I was around and I've worked at home for the last 8 years. So the minute they get home from school, I can hang out if I want to hang out with them and they want to hang out with me. Let's go do something. Let's go. But you got to be careful that it's not too focused on too much freedom, that you focus more on the work stuff at the beginning. And then eventually don't be focused too much on the money where you're not enjoying what you had built up. And it's something where, hey, enjoy that balance. It's all about balance.
I think a couple other challenges are, especially when you're new, is the confidence and the experience. Don't let that weigh too heavily on you. That's why it's important to find mentors through organizations like NAIFA. Everyone here is willing to put the time in to chat with you. Kathleen has put her calendar. We're on LinkedIn. But definitely reach out because the opportunity in this business is enormous. And people are not taking advantage of it. And you are have the opportunity of a lifetime because there are so many people retiring right now, not just for clients, because the most people retiring right now than we've ever seen as far as numbers, but also people retiring from this business. There are so many people that want to find the younger person, and there's a lot you can bring, and it may not be the experience at first. You'll gather that in time, just like Kathleen said, little by little, but you're going to bring some of the technology features to someone who doesn't have it in their practice right now. You could bring a lot of new ideas and a new way of thinking. The new ways of thinking and what you're learning in school is that the holistic approach may not have been practiced by others. There's so much opportunity right now, so don't let those challenges impede you from actually looking for all of the wonderful opportunities in this business.
So what's one piece of advice that you would give to anybody who's looking into a career in this industry? What's one thing that if you were back and your junior or senior year of college, what do you wish that you knew then that you know now?
I would say compensation. Compensation does not discriminate. The percentages that you're making, it doesn't matter, if you're charging a planning fee, just that I didn't quite understand the benefits of, I would have left a salary position a lot sooner if I knew truly the advantages of going into a commission-based or planning-based, fee-based position.
I didn't realize how much failure there was in this industry. Probably good. Probably I might not have done it. Um, but are you a 10 percenter? Are you going to figure out a way to work and figure out the plan no matter how hard it is and not quit? Or are you the person that's going to see that shiny object? And I'll share a quick story about my buddy Tyler Hirth. You can look him up online. He's super successful financial planner. Um, he came to me one day and I had kind of met with him numerous times. I met with him at a 7 a.m. coffee and he goes, "Hey, I'm leaving this afternoon. I'm leaving the industry and I'm going to become a seed and fertilizer salesman. I'm going to make 75 grand a year and I get a company car." And I said, so I literally said as I go, "So when we go to meet for a beer and at first I go, why are you selling your soul to the devil?" was my first phrase. And he responded with some explicit language. And then I said, "So when we go to have a beer next year at 5 o'clock, 5:30, oh wait, 6 o'clock, because you're a company man, how happy are you gonna be?" And then he kept swearing at me and he's just like, "You're a jerk." And I said, "You're not doing your job." I go, "This industry needs you. Your future clients need you. The people need you. We need you. You're not doing your job. Let's sit down and figure out the numbers." And this entire industry is a numbers game. I don't care if you're doing financial plans or if you're fee only or fee based or doing life insurance or long-term care or mortgages or reverse mortgages or whatever. It's a numbers game. And if you figure out your numbers and how your business comes in, it was him not picking up the phone and doing his job. And once we figured out he needed to do a certain amount of dials, we realized if he picks up the phone, he gets a certain amount of money every time he picks the phone up, whether they answer or not, whether they hang up on him or not, whether he schedules an appointment or not, how much it was valuable for him just to pick up the phone, the money in it. So, anyways, that would be one. And then vision. What do you want your life to look like? Begin with the end in mind. All of us on this call, including Chris and Emily, have all written our eulogies. Think about that. We've written our own eulogies. That we took a class within NAIFA called Leadership and Life Institute. It's amazing. Writing your own eulogy sounds like really weird, freakish type stuff. It's amazing. What do you want people to remember you as? And for I think most of us on here, it's your vision and what do you want your life to look like, and building that vision. And okay, now how do we go and fill in the steps along the way to get that vision and make that a reality? So two things that would have been: one, am I a 10 percenter? If I am, this is the right industry. Two, vision. What's my vision? What do I want my life to look like? And now go build it and have that vision be very strong. Because if it's not strong, you're going to give up in the hardest of times.
I'll kind of I'll jump on that as well. So goal setting, I mean, they talk to you about it when you first start out. And I think I literally still have my physical planners. I had to write like my meetings and I think they're in my drawer over here. So having your numbers is really important. They talked to you about that. I've gotten better about goal setting. So I think that goes hand in hand with Corey's vision. I mean, every year, this is dorky. This is like behind my desk, but here's my goals for the year. And I think I have back to 2020 where I actually print it and have it sitting here. So I see it every single day and I'm still looking at 2024. I'm like, didn't really hit that one. And I do it personal, work, health, and family. So I have those 4 categories because I do think, to Corey's point earlier, balance is really important. We see so many people that get off balanced and maybe they are. I mean, I tend to be a bit of a workaholic. Thankfully, my husband is too. But I have learned how to be better about that. I also have and this is going to get really personal, but I've got a whole team. I mean, I have a coach for my business. I have a therapist. I have a trainer I work out with twice a week. I have my people here, Cheryl, JDR, Corey. I mean, I have so many people on my team. It's ridiculous. I have like a medical team. I mean, it's crazy. So people are like, how do you do what you do? Well, there's this. I have someone who buys my clothes. I mean, I am not kidding you. Like, I have a team of people to make this all happen. Now that's evolved over 17 years. Building that team. It didn't start out day one, but it's really realizing I need people to help me as well. I can't do it alone. So I'm good at putting my ego aside and saying I need help and getting that help that I need.
That is so good. Kathleen, you think you know somebody, and then you get to know them a little next level, and appreciate you so much. Braxton, when I was in college, I'm putting in the chat right now, I read this book. It's called The Common Denominator of Success by Albert E.N. Gray. And so here I was, a college kid, about to sell books and Bibles door to door, didn't even know I'd be in the insurance business, let alone be involved with NAIFA. And he was a past president of NAIFA, or NALU, it was called back in the day. Go ahead and click on that link right now while it's fresh. It's a PDF. I think it's like 6 pages. And when we're done with this, go read through that, and it'll help you understand there's things in life that you can control and there's things you cannot control. And by controlling the controllables and focusing on those things and doing those things that successful people form the habit of doing over and over again, you'll become the person you want to be. And so that would be the first thing, is feed your brain. My advice to you would be feed your brain. If I could do it over again, go back to 2005. The advice I give myself is go and start as quick as you possibly can. Sometimes you're building a plane in midair, and that's okay, because the answers are usually in the middle of whatever you're doing. Go find people to talk to and realize you're going to make a promise, and then you're looking around like, I got to go find somebody to deliver on this promise. It's okay. You're going to find somebody in your team that's going to help you deliver on that promise. And then through on-the-job training, you're going to learn a lot and grow a lot quicker than you would if you just sat there and just read all about life insurance and all about annuities, because there's a lot of well-educated people that don't know how to get butts in seats, and they fail out. I hate to say it, but that's true. They've got a certificate, but they don't have the school of hard knocks of just getting after it. So learn how to prospect and get after it. Feed your brain. I'm a big fan of Audible. This group of folks, we get together once a month and we read constantly, and then we chime in on what we learned. And whereas iron sharpens iron, we're growing together as a team. And the last thing, my advice would be to my old self, if I could do it over again, I would have a conversation about cash flow. People in this business, when they start off in this business, they make a lot of money real quickly and they buy a bunch of useless stuff versus taking that money and reinvesting it back in themselves and into the business. So to Kathleen's point, I also have an executive coach who I connect with every other week. I'm the best version of myself because I got a safe place where I can unpack all the decisions I'm about to make, not with the people I'm making decisions with, but just in general, and then kind of what if scenarios. And then I come with my best, I always leave with my best foot versus kind of guessing through life. And so, but that it's not, he's not free, but he's helping me become a better version of myself. So my advice would be is, if you can't find a mentor, it sounds like you got your dad in the business, but if you find some people who love you unconditionally and tell you the truth, much like Corey told his buddy Tyler the truth, and Corey didn't finish the rest of the story. Of course, Tyler's killing it now because he had Corey there. So Tyler owes Corey literally dinner for the rest of his life because of the advice that Corey gave him when they had that critical moment. So understanding your business, and realize this: what you do is you're adding value to other people's life, and you do it, but you're a business owner. You're not working for a company. So while XYZ company may tell you this is what our brand is and these are our goals for you, hey, that's great. Go figure out what you want to do and go figure out what your brand is and lean into that. And so once you know who you're called to be and your purpose and your brand in life, life will be a lot easier because then you can say yes to those things that align with that purpose, and you can say no to those things that don't. Corey mentions water sports. I'm not a big water sports fan. I'll go because I love Corey and I want to spend time with his awesome family. But I'm never going to buy a boat. Zero desire. Nor are you going to catch me on the golf course because I've hit a golf ball before and it's the most funniest thing on the planet. It's really horrible looking. If I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of my peers, I'd rather go sit down and play a tabletop strategy board game or have a meaningful conversation at a sporting event or go to a comedy club. You get the idea. That's more my jam. So Braxton, Hannah, I hope that you're hearing we're throwing a lot of random ideas at you, but any of us after this call will be more than happy to connect with you one-on-one to continue the conversation. Find us on LinkedIn. If you want to do a screenshot or write our names down, send us a LinkedIn request. More than happy to connect with you one-on-one and introduce you to the rest of our NAIFA family. And if you haven't joined NAIFA, what are you waiting for? I think it's like $50 a year or something like that. So yeah, you should join because literally that's the secret sauce in all of this. It's the common denominator in all of our careers is NAIFA. It's always been there for us and always will be there for us.
And John,
Hannah
speaking of
reached out.
NAIFA, if
Hannah
you're,
did. Hannah did reach out, by the way, and
Yeah,
thanks for
I already
commenting on
replied to her.
LinkedIn.
Yep,
I
I got
already
mine.
replied to you.
Yeah, me too.
well, you were talking about building the plane and building your business and relying on your team. For those that are new to the industry or building the industry, John, what would you suggest they get involved, obviously, to build that team of specialists?
So you show up to a NAIFA meeting and start shaking hands and networking. Corey, years ago, I kept on picking his brain about disability insurance. And he's like, you going to buy the cow or you just want to get in the milk for free? And I was like, all right, I'll start throwing some cases your way. And when I realized pretty quickly was this, I can have the job A, job B conversation with the client very easily, and I can sell them on that concept and they buy into it. However, remember, I don't like minutia. I don't like all the details. And when I started getting in arm wrestling with the underwriter and getting back and forth about this rider and these features, I'm like, oh, I'm done. I'm out. I delegate to Corey, tee it up. He does all that stuff. I'm happy. He's happy. My clients are happy. And occasionally when they give Corey pushback, I hop on an email. I'm like, no, Corey's right. You should totally do this. What are you waiting for? You know, this is important. They're like, yeah, you're right, which helps him and helps me because you get the idea. It's a win-win-win. So to your point, Cheryl, is show up to NAIFA meetings, figure out the lane that you want to put. This is what I want to be when I want to grow up, and then find other people that are NAIFA members to delegate to and support you through that. And life is enjoyable for you as well as everybody else. That would be my 2 cents.
Awesome. Well, thank you, panel, very much. Great insights. And, Hannah gets bonus points for connecting with everybody already on LinkedIn. So thank you for that. Panel, you're welcome to stay on, hear what Mr. Gandy has to say. Oh, go ahead. What, Corey?
Can I just chime in one thing? Cheryl
Yes.
didn't say what she really does now. Literally write her name down for the future. You're going to need it. She's like the reverse mortgage guru, nerd, geek specialist. She also has an amazing opioid story related to losing her spouse. But anyways, literally reverse mortgages. You're going to need this in your practice someday. She knows everybody and the ins, the outs. She's a rock star. She won't build up herself in front of you. So I'll do it for her. She's awesome. I highly recommend her. Give her a call.
Thank you, Corey. That comes along with thinking outside the box and thinking differently. So all of that value add, thinking of things that are not thought of traditionally.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Corey.
Yeah. Definitely takes a little bit of that ingenuity to, again, finding those niches and things like that. So thank you all for sharing your insights and stories. Mr. Gandy. We'll wait for him to get his camera on. Thank you. And Chris actually is also in the Chicago area. And he actually, Colin was one of his proteges. And so so that's kind of an interesting story that Colin, who was the second speaker today, actually worked with Chris Gandy under his direction and definitely has some insights from that. So and Chris is actually going to be our 2026 NAIFA president. So we've got a lot of great leaders that you've heard from as well on these calls today. But Chris, I will turn it over to you. Start talking about, industry, give a little bit about your background, how you came to be here. Let it rip.
Sure. Well, I came to be here because you invited me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So I hope everyone's well. It looks like we've got, how many people do we have today? I see the JDR and Kathleen and Corey. I saw them on. I'm not sure if they're staying on, but thanks all of you for all the work you do. My name's Chris Gandy. I am the current NAIFA National Secretary. And we're fortunate to be here because of a lot of the things that you've heard so far. I've been in the business now for 25 years. I enter my 26th in May. So a long period of time. And so you're probably asking yourself a couple questions around some of the information you've heard today. The first being, is the industry good for me? That's the first question we're going to tackle a little bit today. The second one is, are you good for the industry? Because at the end of the day, you got to find the right team to be on if it makes sense. And then last but not least is, can you see yourself being successful doing the work necessary in this industry? And I think of tackling those three questions, Emily, I think should give a little different insight on the opportunity. So how many do we actually have?
Well, we've been on since noon Eastern, so we've lost a couple throughout the day as classes are going on and things like that. But we've got 2 students on, and we may have one that is in a classroom.
Okay, great. And maybe they're listening and they can't comment, right? That's right. All right, so let me start by just saying thank all of you for being here. If you have not signed up for NAIFA yet, I'm sure you guys are like, well, I'm ready to do it. So after this conversation, touch base with Emily. I mean, we spend more time at Starbucks and we spend more time planning for a vacation than we do actually our future, right? So this is a small investment into yourself, your future. But I want to tackle that. So I want to talk a little bit about my background because I think it's relative in this conversation. In my previous life, I was an athlete. So I was one of the ones that you'd see out there on the field and or on the court. And so I learned a couple of these key, what I would call fundamentals along the way that has kind of led me to not only success in my life, but it's led to me sharing this information with others. So that's great. So the first question I posed is, are you good for the industry? Are you good for the industry? Well, let me rewind the tape. Is the industry good for you? So you've heard a lot of information today, and I just want to kind of reiterate with a couple statistics. Every 45 minutes, there's somewhere between 15 and 16,000 people that retire with no place or nothing to do with the money in which they built up their entire life. So just think about that. They spent their entire life preparing for a date, and they're unfamiliar with what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. So they seek out the advice of professionals, or a lot of times they seek out advice from whoever will give them information. So one, there's a need because of all the people retiring. There's a mass exodus of the baby boomers, which is the largest wealth shift ever in history. And that is happening as we speak. They say by 2032, I think it's kind of 2030, over 70% of the economic power in the United States has shifted from one generation to the next because the people that are going to be retiring are going to be looking for people that are younger than them to help them decide what to do with the money in which they have. There was a crazy statistic that was out recently, crazy study, and you can research this. It was actually in the Wall Street Journal, and Forbes actually then copied a big chunk of that, is that within 30 days of actually retiring, 90% of people have no idea what to do with the money that they have. So think about that. I mentioned I played sports. I played basketball. Imagine going to a game and not having a game plan. Or imagine prepare and not actually, you know what? I didn't bring my shoes. Oh, I forgot to bring my jersey. You know what? We didn't even bring a ball. But we're just going to show up and see what happens. Okay. The likelihood of that going well goes down dramatically versus if we practiced, we ran plays, we executed on a scheme and a strategy, and we held each other accountable for the greater good of the win. We have more likely chance of winning the game. And so when you start to look at, am I good for this industry? I heard a couple of things in kind of previous speakers. One thing is you have to ask yourself, are you competitive? I think everybody you heard talk a little bit ago, they're all super competitive, right? Whether they're competitive with themselves or they're competitive with other people or they're competitive with their peers and or people within a given group. It's fair to say that they're super competitive. Me, myself, I'm yearly competitive because of what sports has taught me is you need to be able to compete given the opportunity of just a flat out fair and equal setting. Let's roll the ball out and see who actually does a better job. So one is you got to be competitive, super, super important. Two is you have to be a student of the game. So I mentioned that I played sports. And one of the things that happens in sports that most people don't see is there's more time spent in preparation for playing the sport than actually playing the sport. You say, Chris, well, what do you mean? So I'm going to kind of break this down for you. The average basketball game is 2 20-minute halves. That's 40 minutes. Okay. During a week, and that's only once a week. And those are the people that are actually playing. There's not a single person that plays every single minute of every single basketball game. That's not how it works. You know, there's breaks. There's also foul trouble. There's all these other things. So the average player plays about 20 minutes each week if they're playing. Now, as you probably have seen, when you look at a bench, half the people never take off their jersey. So many of those people prepare and they never get a chance to execute and show what they can do. But for the ones that do, it's about 20 minutes. So let's just compare that to how much they actually prepare to get ready. Every day you have at least 2 hours of film. Every day. So some people are like, no, it's just during the day. No, every day. That's even Saturday, Sunday, holidays, weekends. It doesn't matter. You have 2 hours of film every single day. That is the necessary, what you need to do to be successful at college sports. Number two is there's practice. You would think that people make it to college, they don't need to practice anymore. Well, that's not how it works, right? You go to practice every day to hone the skills. You don't come to practice to learn the skills. You come to practice to hone the skills. So practice is, you've got to be comfortable with practice. And that's one of the things that in our business, we're in the practice of financial services. And so we're constantly trying to get better. You heard people talk about today. So one is you got to know the plays. Two is you got to be willing to practice and be competitive. Three is you got to do what other people aren't willing to do. You know, if everybody could play college basketball or walk onto an NFL field, they probably would. Every person I know that could or had the potential to play, they all would walk on and say, hey, I'd love to play. I'd love to be on TV. I'd love to give Aaron Rodgers a run for his money, whatever it may be. Like everybody say they would do that until they realize what it actually takes. I go back to time. You got 2 hours of film. You got 2 hours of practice. That's 4 hours. Remember, you're only playing 40 minutes. You're not even playing 40, you're actually playing about 20. And you have that every single day. You then have study table. Study table is usually an hour or two. So that's 5 hours a day that's cut out of your time. That's not really your time. So we take that, that's 35 hours a week, all just to play 40 seconds. They're all just to play 40 minutes. And as if you're playing 40 minutes, all just to maybe play 20 minutes. And the people that don't play all the time, you add those weeks up. So maybe there's 35, there's another 35, there's another 35. So we're at 70. And then we add another 35. So we're 105 hours and then maybe you getting in the game for a couple minutes. And that's just the reality of sports. Well, let's compare that to this business. I asked the question is, are you right for this business? So you got to measure, am I competitive? Am I a student of the game? Means I actually study the plays. I actually study. JDR gave us the common denominator of success. Cheryl mentioned leadership in life. Lily and Kathleen probably mentioned a bunch of things, but I was probably doing some other things. So Kathleen, I'm sorry, but I'm sure she mentioned some data, some information that was relative, but they've all studied the game. They've all learned it from other people. They've all learned it from the greats that are around, and we like to teach each other. So are you good for the industry? Are you competitive? Right? Do you work hard? What are some of the things that drive you, right? And then last but not least is, do you have the it factor? And what I mean by the it factor is you got to look in the mirror and you got to ask yourself is, do I have the ability to lead people? Because at the end of the day, when we're actually advising people, that's all we're doing. We're leading them down a path to eventually help them navigate their own financial issues. If you're a person and you're like, I'm not a leader, Chris, I just like to be on the team, doesn't mean you shouldn't be a part of the industry, because there's so many roles in this industry. But many of you are thinking about, should I be a financial advisor? Those specific words, right? Should I be a financial advisor? If so, what path should I take? Okay. Well, you've narrowed your focus to, should I be the person out there on the floor playing the game? Or do I want to be in financial services at some level? I just don't know what role I want to do. You have to ask yourself that question. So you first have to measure are you good for the industry? Now let's rewind the tape. Second question I ask is the industry good for you? So I'm going to share some things that I'm not sure the others shared, but it is what it is. 50% of the people that start in financial services, unfortunately, don't make it the first 12 months. And you may ask, Chris, well, why is that? Everybody has the same opportunity, equal, and everybody, everybody's out there as a possibility for a client. That is 100% correct. But just like the financial services business is not an anomaly to entrepreneurship. So if you go and you study entrepreneurship, 50% of the businesses that start in 2024 will not survive in 2025. Okay, so it has nothing to do with financial services. Some of the opportunities to start the engine to build something, it has more to do with the fact that starting something from scratch is really, really, really hard. If I had to use something that was similar, I'd use the SpaceX craft that takes off of in Florida. And during that period of time, 85% of its energy and its tools are used, its resources, its gas, its power, all of it, 85% of it is used in the first 90 seconds. By the way, if you ever get a chance to listen to that, it's great. If you ever get a chance to see it, it's fantastic. It's awe-inspiring. Go down and check it out. But you get an opportunity to see that. And so when you start something from scratch and it's high powered, like a space shuttle, it's like your career, it takes a lot of energy and effort to get it moving. And so is the industry right for you? The industry itself, I want to talk a little bit about that. The industry is changing. I mean, when I came into business, Cheryl, Kathleen, some others, when we came into the business, it was a little different. We came into the business and they told us exactly what to do. And we were so young and full of energy. We just did exactly what they told us to do. So that's kind of how it worked. The industry now is a little bit different because of the training and development necessary for you to be successful. A lot of the companies have stopped the training and development platform, or they have some pieces, but they don't have the other pieces. And so the industry is changing. Number two, how you can be successful in this industry is changing. So I'm from the old school where I got to go out and I got to meet people, shake hands, kiss babies like a politician. Okay. However, I have some advisors that are in my group now. They are 100% online. They wouldn't even know what to do if they met someone. They are convinced that COVID was an eye-opening experience for them, and they'd rather be somewhere else in the country doing the business as if they're sitting here in my office. And so those training models, it's new, right? The ability to teach someone how to engage with a client, create an environment of safety for their clients, and be able to build something significant that's clearly repeatable, it's kind of new. So imagine going into something where the industry is old, but the constructs of what you're building is fairly new. And so the majority of people now are engaging initially online. Like if I wanted to learn about Kathleen, I just Google her name, right? And I'd see a lot of stuff about Kathleen, good, bad, or indifferent, right? And so a lot of people do that initial research before they engage with you. And so a lot of the engagement happens because of online. So the industry is changing. The industry, as you mentioned, are getting older. Let me share something with you. People make decisions when things change in their lives. People lose a loved one. All of a sudden, there's a lot of people saying they need to get their stuff together, right? Someone gets hurt. You find your peace. You find the fact that it makes us feel very vulnerable because someone else got hurt. We're like, well, what happens if that happens to me? You see yourself in their shoes, okay? You also have an opportunity as you continue to move forward, though, of not only seeing yourself in their shoes, but being able to lead them along the path. So people are making decisions because of their life. People are making decisions because of what they're going through. People are making decisions when they get married. People are having kids. People are moving right along. Okay. So people are making decisions almost every day in this world. The question is, are they going to be choosing you to work with you, or are you going to be someone that leads them along the way? Okay. So you got to ask yourself those things. Let me move on to the next one, because I know, Emily, we're going to be short on time, and I want to make sure me and you aren't talking to each other. I like you, but are you right for the industry? Is the industry right for you? The industry's changing, I'll tell you that. The industry's growing. If you look at financial services, it's growing astronomically. The challenge I see at this current point is people are confused that are getting in the industry and what role they should play. Yeah, it's like, Chris, I want to be in the NBA. I just don't know if I want to be a point guard. I want to be off guard. And that's okay. NAIFA is an organization of people in many roles and lots of relationships. So if you get into the industry and you're like, yeah, I want to be a part of this group, or I want to learn more about this, there are NAIFA constituents and NAIFA relationships in every state that you could plug and play and get involved into today. And people will love on you like you've been in their life for the last 20, 25 years. But the key is you got to be willing to listen to what they say, because what most people do is they take information and they do nothing with it, or they listen to segments of it and then they do certain pieces of it and they don't do the other part. So easily, Emily can connect you with NAIFA leaders within your area. So is the industry good for you? I think it's a great place for young professionals, people that are thinking about doing something different for their lives, okay? Being an entrepreneur, being creative, right? If this call had 20,000 people on it, right? Would it be unique? Would this be a unique opportunity? Most people want to fly to the things that aren't unique because there's comfort there. Well, this is not comfortable, right? We want to be in a position where we are able to do something different than everybody else. All right, last but not least, so is the industry good? Are you good for the industry? And can you see yourself being successful? Answer is, I don't know. Can you see yourself being successful at doing what we do? That only comes when you look in the mirror and you say, A, I have what it takes. I'm willing to put in time, energy, and effort. And regardless of what happens, I'm going to make it work. Right. So I go back to, what does that really look like? Right. And it's not necessarily confidence, because some confidence is not founded on the ground at all. Some of it's just based on what people have been telling us. And so I want to just tap into this because it's super important. Industry good for me? Am I good for the industry? And now we come down to, do you have what it takes to be successful at this? And that's a hard question. But I can tell you that many NAIFA members have been athletes in their previous lives. And I can tell you, I can't do what Kathleen can do. Right? She's like insane, right? I think she's like Randy Ironman or something crazy like that. Like
Ultra marathoner.
like some insane, like I can't do that, right? Can I put a basketball basket in a hoop? Sure. But she can't do what I can do, and I can't do what she does. I can tell you that that competitive edge in which you can learn, grow, and develop happens when you're around other people that understand how to do that. They're athletes. They like to compete. They like to share. They like the brotherhood and sisterhood that it creates, regardless of the company and affiliation. Like Cheryl's company is different than mine. My company is different than JDR's. We've come together on a common ground. And that common ground is, the industry is great for us. We're good for the industry because we want to lead. We want to be staples in the community in which we serve. We want to change the world and the financial literacy and the financial opportunities for the people that come behind us. And then last but not least is, it'll be forever changed because of our competitive nature and our ability to share. You know, camaraderie is one of those things that once you're on a team, you always feel like you'll be part of that team. NAIFA is a part of that relationship. NAIFA brings us all together, regardless of our jerseys that we wear, what stadiums we play in. You know, NAIFA has the opportunity to do that, and it would do it for you also. I'm not going to keep rattling, but I know Braxton and a couple other people have to go, so I want to answer whatever questions. She did mention that I'll be helping lead NAIFA in a couple of years, and we're super excited about some of the initiatives in the industry and where the industry is going. And we look forward to sharing those with you, and hopefully you're in the industry somewhere and become part of our NAIFA family.
Absolutely. Can't iterate that enough. I know, yeah, we've lost some with the time, but Braxton, if you have any questions for those of us who are still on the call, we are happy to answer anything, any insights or anything that you've got, you know, reach out.
Any questions, Braxton? Braxton's the only. He's
Yep.
he's the only guy.
He's the sole remaining survivor. So
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the advice. I'll have to obviously give it a bunch of thought. I was an athlete in high school, and because of my stature, I couldn't really be an athlete in college. I'm 5'6". There's only so many sports that you can do when you're that tall.
Yeah.
And but you know, dude, I hate losing. I cannot. I uh, I've been very competitive with family mainly. For example, my uncle was the ping pong champion at his 2,000 employee. He's got 2,000 employees. He was the champion in ping pong. And I hired a coach to train me to be able to beat him one day. Not quite yet, but you know, still working on that.
Where do you go to school,
So
Braxton?
I'm at Utah Valley University, so I'm down in little state.
Right. Great. You know, information transcends state boundaries. So this is we're coming from you, I think, in multiple states here. So imagine if we had to go back and technology wasn't a thing, where we had to actually try and fly you in, and then we had to come in and sit down. So we can pick up technology allows for us to to close those lines to bleed. So I think you've heard from some, Emily, who do you all hear from?
So we have,
JDR,
yeah,
Cheryl, I
yep,
heard.
JDR, Cheryl, Corey Anderson, Colin, your protege, and Delvin was on earlier as well. Yeah, so we had a good
Okay,
group.
great. Okay,
Mhm.
good. So Braxton, you've got some fantastic people who have shared with you parts of their lives, right, today. I would suggest you connect with all of them on LinkedIn and keep the dialogue going. And there are no bad questions. The only bad question is the one you don't ask, right? And so a lot of these people have relationships in places that can help you, and everything is fostered and built on relationships in the future. And, you know, the money you make will be based on how well you can create good relationships, whether it's with clients, individuals like us, whatever it may be. But just be inquisitive, right? And I think if everything starts with curiosity, I think you end up in the right place.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
that's great advice. So thank you for everybody who is watching this on recording, who had to jump early, and you've been with us Braxton, who's been with us the entire 2-hour session. So appreciate that. And thank you to our speakers. Your insights are just so valuable, and we do really appreciate everything that you guys do, moving our association forward and in investing this time in that next generation of leaders and insurance and financial professionals. So thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Emily.
Awesome. And so this will be available on recording. Be a short survey, get your certificates. And thank you everyone for your time. Appreciate you very much. Have a great one.